Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. At the Monroe County Commissioners meeting on September 20th, Health Department Director Lori Kelly gave an update on the new COVID-19 vaccine availability at the clinic and shared the clinic's hours. Commissioner Penny Giffens commented that the RSV vaccine is available at Kroger.
Good morning. The updated COVID-19 vaccine is expected to be available at the public health clinic by appointment beginning October 9th. We are still waiting on RSV vaccines, but expect those to begin shipping sometime next week. The clinic is open Monday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Tuesday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and on the second Saturday of the month from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. You can call 812-353-3244 for an appointment.
Any questions or comments? No. I did notice when I was out and about yesterday that Kroger is saying that it has the RSV vaccines in at this point as well.
Yes, we have heard that. For those who are 60 and older, they are available at Kroger.
Next, Jail Commander Kyle Gibbons gave an update on the conditions at the county jail.
We currently have 200 inmates. In the last 48 hours, we have 17 bookings as well as 17 releases, 160 felony offenders, 30 misdemeanor, 2 parole holds, 2 DOC holds, 1 out-of-county hold, 1 out-of-state hold. Our recent bookings, and what we're really dealing with in Monroe County lately as a whole, a lot of drugs and alcohol related. Recently, we have a possession of methamphetamine with various charges, syringe paraphernalia. He had a probation hold as well. Operating while intoxicated, endangerment, operating while intoxicated, a domestic battery, operating while intoxicated, threats, intimidation, battery. We've had various out-of-county warrants and various probation violation warrants. As a facility, in terms of sanitation refurbishment, right now we're working on the inmate worker dorm. They've been busy doing the entire facility, and as a result, they've needed sleep and rest. So we haven't been able to start that dorm yet. It's started now. We're working on the central control room, our processing. In our processing area, we added a platform, which is essentially about as high as this platform. It's about 6 inches off the ground. But what that's done is it's taken my officers from a seated position and elevated them so they can get a direct line of sight into the different pods down there at the bottom on the first floor. In addition to that, I've talked to Greg Crone at TSD. We're going to get a camera display so that they can see physically, virtually, and then on their count as well, which obviously anytime we can get eyes on is for the benefit of everybody, especially new bookings and people we really have to monitor as they come into the facility and evaluate those people. The fights among inmates are down significantly, which is always a great sign. That saves us money medically, but it also saves everybody time with classification changes, write-ups, dealing with injuries, medical observations, and it's just obviously great for the facility. And whenever it's safer, it's better, obviously. So use of forces are down in terms of employees having to use force to gain compliance, down dramatically. One thing that we're working on or having issues with is facility maintaining that maintenance that we've conducted. So 2 times a week, we have a team go in of correctional officers to clean the dorms. They go in each one, they do it 2 times a week. Throughout the week, the inmates have clean supplies that they can do it themselves, and a lot of them do. And they clean their own rooms, their showers, but we follow up to make sure that it's getting done as well. But it's still, it's not to my expectations. So what I'm gonna try to do is create an incentive program. I'll go into each dorm, find 2 or 3 inmates and just say, hey, if you put in the extra work on my end, 1 time a month, I'll bring you into the indoor rec room. I'll project a movie on the wall. We'll find a movie that everybody wants to watch, get pizza and stuff like that. Just something to incentivize them to really maintain their area. And that's mostly what we're going for. What I'm also going to do is for the inmate workers as well, one time a month, try to get everybody down there and get them a break from things. I think appreciation goes a long way, really. That is all I have for current updates. Like I said, I just wanted to make sure that we touched base. Haven't seen you guys in a while. I'm sure you missed me. I missed you guys.
Later, Commissioners Administrator Angie Purdy presented on the ratification of the Opioid Settlement Grant State Fund.
And this was a grant that Monroe County received as a result of work completed by our Commissioner Githens and also our health administrator. This funding will provide for covers two projects. One is for the cost of the acquisition and outfitting of for services of a building and an outreach van for IRA. And the second is to help our current health department expand their harm reduction efforts by purchasing and distributing harm reduction supplies to local organizations that provide evidence-based harm reduction services in our communities. We will be receiving a total of $576,000 in matching funds from the state.
Githens thanked those involved in applying for the grant and explained that the grant is in addition to the settlement monies the county received.
Kudos to the employees in our health department and to Nick Foyles of the Indiana Recovery Alliance. They all put in significant time and effort to make this possible too. And I guess I just would like to point out that harm reduction is an opportunity to interface or interact with people who are using illicit substances. And this is one of the ways that we can get them into recovery, but any type of harm reduction aims at keeping people alive. So I'm very pleased that the state agreed that this was a worthwhile project. And this is additional money beyond the opioid settlement money that we've gotten from the state. So hopefully we can get moving on these things.
County Council member Pete Iverson praised the work done and asked if the new van will have a name. Githens responded.
I just want to applaud you all on the hard work that not only you, but the IRA and the health department are doing. Of course, SUDAC, the Substance Use Disorder Advisory Commission, is very, very pleased to see all this coming to fruition. And my question is, will the van be named?
We'll leave that to the Indiana Recovery Alliance. They currently have a name for their failing van. The van is called Larry. But one of the positive things about getting a new van is it can go additional places. We can reach out even beyond Monroe County, can go to fairs, can go to all kinds of places to introduce the concept even to new individuals. So I'm very pleased that this will be happening.
The commissioners unanimously approved the ratification of the grant fund. The Monroe County Public Library Board of Trustees met on September 20th. Financial Officer Gary Letelier led the public hearing for the 2024 budget. First, Letelier shared the county's assessed value and the tax rate that the library can expect to receive.
Will be 8.53 cents per $100 of assessed value. This slide shows the trend in assessed value and the library tax rate over the past several years. From 2016 to 2022, the library tax rate was over 9 cents. Then the rate dropped from over 9 cents in 2022 to 7.85 cents in 2023. The big rate drop in 2023 was due to an unusually large increase in the assessed value for 2023. Assessed value went up by about 18% from 2022 to 2023.
Following the hearing, Director of the Library, Greer Carson, gave his monthly report.
Since last spring, we've been looking at how we can provide ongoing access to the Herald Times archives. After meeting with digitization specialists at the Indiana State Library and reviewing licensing and digitization options, we're excited to propose tonight a solution. Lisa Ciampelli and her team have done extensive research, and Lisa will share with us later what this proposal entails. There's a brief mention in the director's report of our interlibrary loan activity for August, which includes our running total of ILLs for 2023. I think it's worth noting that our ratio of lending to borrowing is about 7 to 1. I don't know how that compares to our peer libraries with similarly sized collections, but I am interested in learning more about that. We are excited to start planning for our new Polaris Discovery tool. This discovery tool will eventually change the public catalog to provide a much better search experience. Back in 2019, we conducted our ILS review and decided to stay with Polaris, but one of the recommendations from that study was to adopt a better online catalog discovery tool. Polaris didn't have one available at the time, but since then they've introduced their new suite of library service tools under the umbrella name Vega. Vega Discover displays library search results with all of the available formats for a given title listed alongside one another, including their current availability and the option to place a hold, all within a single interface. If you're familiar with our current online catalog, you know that you have to jump through a few hoops in order to do all of those things. The search capabilities of Vega Discover also include features that users expect in the Google age, like smart and predictive search results and e-content integration, meaning that an e-book or an e-audiobook version of a given title will be listed alongside the rest of the formats.
Next, Board President Chris Harrison introduced a change order request for the Southwest branch.
We have a change order before us for providing and installing new bike racks and scooter racks, providing restriping of the basement and the garage, and also installing some new parking signage. Do we have a motion to approve these items?
Carson shared more about the reasoning behind the change orders.
Yes, so after a few months of operating, we've observed that the garage spaces are a little tight and would greatly benefit from expansion. We also need to install some new reflective signs for compact and motorcycle parking, and we need to establish traffic flow with one-way arrows and signage to make sure patrons are safely entering and exiting the garage. It's just simply too tight to do a two-way traffic pattern in our garage. And finally, based on some feedback from patrons and staff alike, we would like to go ahead and install a pair of bike racks in the garage for folks who prefer a more sheltered and maybe secure bike parking option here at Southwest. So the total for this, indeed, last change order for Southwest is $8,911.
The board voted unanimously to approve the change order. The Bloomington City Council met on September 20th. First, during council reports, Councilmember Jim Sims acknowledged Hispanic Heritage Month and talked about an incident that occurred regarding a $3 parking fee at Indiana University's SRSC parking lot. Sims highlighted the implications of the incident as a reflection of the culture in the community.
But the first thing I'd like to say is acknowledge and congratulations to all of our Hispanic brothers and sisters for Hispanic Heritage Month. And I believe that's from September 15th until October 15th, if I'm not mistaken. One of the similarities between Black History Month and Hispanic Heritage Month is that both of those recognitions began with one day recognitions and celebrations. Then they moved to 1 week, and now both have a national month-long celebration that's acknowledged by this country. So just wanted to say well wishes to our Hispanic brothers and sisters, and let's all celebrate this month. The second point, I believe it was on last meeting, my esteemed colleague, Councilmember Boland, brought up the fact that a Mr. Barrio Jr., an IU student who went to a parking lot at the SRSC, I believe, left. The fee was $3. He had cash, but they only take cards. And apparently the line was long, so they told him to go, and basically he assumed that that fee instead of $3 would be $13.50 applied to his bursar bill. As best as I can ascertain. But after that, 2 officers responded to his residence. And of course, he was treated not the best and arrested. All of this for a $3 parking ticket. first thing I like to say, wouldn't it have been amazing that if the officers were there to just actually simply pick up $3? If we're going to respond, then a lot of this other would not have happened. As many of you know, IUPD Police Chief Lee is no longer affiliated with the university. I can assume that it is related to this incident. And Mr. Barrio, of course, filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the university. It has been settled, and as with most settlements, I do believe that there's a non-disclosure agreement. So we may or may not hear much more about the results of that lawsuit. And that was for a violation of his civil rights, false arrest, and I believe it's one other thing. Now, IU, I think the officials would have this, say this is settled. But I think it goes a little deeper than it. We're talking about a culture, I do believe. The first thing I would want to know is, how has that parking lot attendant been trained to handle such situations like that? I'll remind you, this was a $3 parking ticket. The next thing I'm concerned with or wonder, the two responding officers who were sent to his residence, what about the next level at the chain of command who either ordered or instructed them to go to his residence? And I'd also want to know with IUPD, what are their diversity training guidelines, specifically with anti-bias and anti-racial training, or in racial training, I'm sorry, anti-bias and racial training. I think these are some questions that go a little deeper than the surface and the headlines. And I just want my colleagues in this community to think about those terms, and hopefully we can make other progress throughout the community. Thank you very much.
Next, the Council heard a review of the Community Advisory on Public Safety Commission. Council Attorney Stephen Lucas introduced the review.
This review was called for in the establishing legislation for the Commission. That was Ordinance 2020 that was adopted near the end of 2020. That ordinance set out the goal of the CAPS Commission, which is to increase the safety of all Bloomington community members, especially those often marginalized due to race, disability, gender, sexual identity, or sexual orientation. It also set out several purposes and duties of the Commission that were included in the memo for tonight's meeting. As part of that ordinance, the Council called for a review of the need for and efficacy of the Commission 2 years after the Commission's first meeting. The Commission first met in May of 2021, so we're a little over 2 years from that date. The memo I provided to the Council mentions the approximate number of meetings held by the full Commission since that date, and notes that the Commission has also met several times through different committees. The Council has heard 2 annual reports from the CAPS Commission recently, I believe in August, and there are a number of items that the Commission has published on its webpage to advocate for different positions, and that webpage also includes a fairly lengthy report recently produced by the Commission making several recommendations related to public safety alternatives. I will note the ordinance that set up the Commission doesn't specify any action for the Council to take other than reviewing the need for and efficacy of the Commission. So tonight's agenda includes this item to give you all a chance to do that. That could simply be a discussion, however much discussion you feel is appropriate. I will note that absent a member of the Council or the administration bringing forward an ordinance to make any changes to the Commission, whether that be a change to the membership, a number of seats, whatever those changes might be, the Commission would continue to operate as called for by local code.
The Council discussed the number of seats on the Commission and the issues that they've had lately with members stepping down from the Commission. Lucas explained that they stepped down due to scheduling issues. Councilmember Steve Volan asked if the number of seats on the Commission is too many. Board member Jason McCallick responded.
The specific concern that I've frankly always had about the commission is its size. There are 11 seats. While we were waiting for you to rejoin, I've been looking at, as of right now, there are 6 seats filled. A couple of people I know have just resigned this month, and Mr. Lucas says it's due to scheduling issues, but there is a litany of people who've been on the commission for 3 months and have left, 6 months and have left. And again, there are so many seats open that it begs the question, should the commission be as big as it is? Can it do with 9 or 7 members? To what extent does the lack of filled seats affect the commission's ability to both deliberate and to make recommendations?
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you for your question, Councilmember Volin. So I would say from my experience that one of the difficulties, one of the benefit, but also difficulty of pulling people with lived experience for a commission like this is that those people necessarily have constraints. So a lot of the people, so I've been on the commission for a little over 1.5 years, and people who have come and gone have gone because they have those constraints of life constraints, which is sad because every member who has stepped off the commission had a good perspective that we lost. And so we try to retain those. I would say there's not a noticeable detriment to having open seats. We don't notice when those seats aren't filled. It's only a problem if the seats are filled by people who are unable to attend. But usually if they're unable to attend in regular ways that would harm the quorum of the commission, they have to step off. So I wouldn't see a benefit to reducing the size. We have talked about recruitment, trying to recruit more people. And we actually got another member from the town hall event that we put on. Other than that, though, we have continually tried to reach out to marginalized communities to gain more members from various different demographics.
The Bloomington City Council will hold a special session on September 27th. Their next regularly scheduled meeting will be held on October 4th. The Monroe County Justice Fiscal Advisory Committee met on Monday, September 18th to discuss their recommendations to the Monroe County Council. Several recommendations were discussed and edited throughout the meeting, including the recommendation to establish a, quote, working group to identify what data is needed for an interdepartmental justice dashboard, unquote.
On this dashboard, like theoretically, I think one of the most important things for our community members to know is like, who are we incarcerating? Because I do believe that there's somewhat of a misconception that everybody who's locked up in our county jail are super violent offenders. So are we able to like let the community members know, okay, this is the amount of people that we have in our jail currently that are violent offenders, and this is the amount of people that we have who are rearrested on like probation violations or technical violations for problem-solving courts or whatever else. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I do see, like, I often hear, well, the people in jail are dangerous, they're scary, they're whatever. But if we had a dashboard to say, okay, like, is everyone that is, to like let the community know, like, this is something that people are often arrested for and it is a nonviolent charge. Like, I think that's important.
Another point discussed was investing in alternatives to the jail, such as mental health treatment centers. Bloomington Mayor John Hamilton weighed in on the discussion.
I think we are a highly over-incarcerated country, state, and community. I think the values of our community would strongly endorse major investments to try to become more in line with the rest of the world and have less incarceration and more treatment. I do take very seriously that the county government has particular responsibility for the criminal justice system, including the jail. the county government also has explicit responsibility for public health. And I view these as kind of the flip sides of the coin, I guess, in a way that I think our community would support very major investments in public health, diversion, treatment, and more, besides just that, besides just pure public health. But I strongly would support a statement of values that says, as we're going into this, yes, we do think that for every dollar we put into the jail and incarceration and making it a much better incarceration system, but that we put a dollar into the system that keeps people away from the incarceration system, at least a dollar. And yes, that's big money. And I think there's a lot of details to how do you define those investments? Do you count a Medicaid paying for health insurance paying for mental health treatment? I don't know, maybe. But I think at the local level, our community would strongly support at least parity in that kind of investment as we look at that's the values of our budget. So I think it's a little vague the way this is stated, and I would encourage us to be much stronger about that. And I think there are fiscal options for that. And certainly the city, I think, would want to be a partner, though we don't run the public health system, but we do have some resources that can help, or job training or those kinds of things. Thank you.
The meeting ended with public comments of thanks, recommendations on how to improve the county's criminal justice system, and a continued call for awareness around the progression of the new jail. County Commissioner Lee Jones responded to these comments.
I will address what Mr. Deppert just said. We are holding community conversations. The first one on the jail location, the first one will be this Wednesday at 6:30 at Summit Elementary School. The sheriff and his staff have agreed to join us, which I'm very grateful for. And then the second one will be next Sunday, September 24th at 3 p.m. at the RCA Park. Open to the public. We want to hear from people. I hope it doesn't get too overwhelming, but we do want to be, and the topic will be the location specifically and what the decisions are that needed to go into that.
The Council has uploaded the revised list of suggestions to the JFAC website, where they encourage the public to read and email edits, suggestions, and thoughts to jfac@co.monroe.in.us. They will take suggestions until Monday, September 25th, and a revised agenda will be shared with the City Council on Tuesday, September 26th. The Richland Bean Blossom School Board held their annual public budget hearing on September 18th. Board President Dana Kerr introduced the budget hearing.
Again, this is the public budget hearing, and we have let the roll call reflect that all the board members are present except for Mrs. Angie Jacobs, who is unable to attend this evening. And so there's actually three budgets. There is the 2024, we'll call it general budget, the 2024 capital projects plan, and the 2024 bus replacement plan. We'll address each of these individually, and each has a opportunity for the public to make comments should they choose to do so. So the first, again, is the 2024 proposed budget, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Irwin.
The Richland Bean Blossom School Board will vote on the 2024 budget at their next meeting on October 23rd. And that is all for Cats Week. Thank you for joining us. For Cats and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.